Ladies and gentlemen, for the 50th episode of Pressing Matters, I have with me Natasha Raheel, sports journalist for Express Tribune, who has a special interest in football. Natasha, thank you so much for joining me. People who are listening, drop a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and share the video with your friends. एक recent breaking news है that kelectric has decided to disband its football team. Natasha has written a great article breaking that story, which is linked in the description below. And we're going to get into the details about कि इस ये डिसीजन क्यों लिया गया है, इसका क्या इम्पैक्ट है फुटबॉल पे, लोगों पे, कराची पे. But before that, Natasha, why don't you go ahead and please tell us about the importance of KE in terms of the football ecosystem and its heritage in Pakistani football?
Right. Well, thank you for inviting me. Basically,
No worries, the pleasure is mine.
yes. Basically, K-Electric is one of the departments in many departments that we have in Pakistan. So I'm sure your listeners must know, and if they don't, then it's just to let you know that Pakistan mein we don't have clubs. We do have clubs, but we don't have club system. It's a semi-professional league. So there's that first and foremost. But football, in terms of its history, it goes way back. As we know it from people in Liari, for example, which is one of the center in when it comes to football in Karachi per se. I'm a Karachiite, born and bred here, so I can say it with authority that people in Liari generally they would tell us that football was introduced in Pakistan through the coast of Karachi. I'm not talking about Indo-Pakistan that way, but the love that these people have for football, it's been legendary in the sense that when the ships would come in from Europe, they would embark here and they would play football with locals basically, and that's how they picked up the sport. And it's a beautiful sport, although it's European and it's very, very gora in its way. But our people really picked it up because I believe football is probably the most beautiful game on the planet, is because it's so accessible. All you need is a ball. Right?
Definitely.
Yes, and it's a bit challenging, unlike basketball, which uses hands, feet. So I can go on about the beauty of football, but the fact is that
yeah, sure, by all means, I'm all here for
it. Yeah, seriously, I genuinely believe, and this is one of my theories that my brother usually rubbishes it most of the time, but I just believe that when Cain and Abel they were getting bored, they must have come up with football with leaves. So it should be one of the world's oldest games as well. But obviously, this is just a theory. I guess I'm digressing.
Of course, we can't really prove or disprove that. So you're half right,
no, I just believe
the glass half full.
Since I believe it is true. Here, but coming back to Karachi and K-Electric, which used to be Karachi Electric Corporation, KESC, pehle pura naam hota tha.
Yeah.
Now it got revamped. When it got privatized, it used to be a government department. So if you go in the history, you learn so much about Pakistan's economic issues as well, because you go electricity in our country is basically coming from a private company. At least in Karachi, the country's biggest industrial city, has a provider that is basically that works like a freaking corporate. And I mean it in the most capitalistic, in the most I don't know, it's the man that you need to bring down basically. It got privatized and things were still fine, but you see these people, for them departments, they not only represent the sport, but it's also a way of getting jobs, right? So a lot of footballers, as I mentioned before, although I was just joking, but I'm just saying that football is certainly the most natural sport, and it comes most naturally to people who are coming from humble backgrounds as well.
It's a working class sport.
It's a working class sport. I think I just, well, we can go on that debate later on, but let me just continue with this. That so a lot of kids, they picked up the sport. They think that obviously they can't afford education. They're very good at the sport. They get jobs to these departments. through football, right? So it becomes a way for them. It's very professional. Of course, like we can say acha nahi hai to semi-professional setup hai, but for them, if they're earning their living through the sport, for them it's professional. Right?
It's a career.
It's a career. It's not just a career. It's a way of life for them, as because now they're playing.
It's a passion as well.
Now they're playing to stick to that job so that they can put food on their table, right? So it's a different kind of battle that probably you and I cannot understand, right? And it's something which is also very sad, because I think that's where the potential is. Like Pakistan Football Federation never had that setup, aapke paas jo whatever leagues that you have 2 leagues, Division B that's happening right now, and then you have Pakistan Premier Football League, and we only have 2 tiers, and Pakistan is big enough, to have more than that. I mean, that's one of the issues that I've always had with Pakistan Football Federation. Obviously, abhi the normalization committee is there, and Hamza Khan is trying to do whatever he can at the moment, because again, this is the person who comes with solid knowledge and understanding of the international football. But the thing is, with Karachiites and with K-Electric has been here for more than 100 years, right? As a department, as an entity, right? So they have football, and they have sponsored footballers before. They have given them jobs. They had done good stuff, for Liariites, for example, for Karachiites, and they even have footballers from up north, from Chitral. So Abhi jo squad tha. Now so it's disbanded. But basically it's a department that holds significances because it's been there for such a long time, as old as Karachi is in terms of modern Karachi, So the football, it has been a part of Karachi's ecosystem. In fact, Pakistan's football ka ecosystem for the longest time. They finally won the Premier League in 2014, 2015. Edition. I was there. I was right there when that happened. I still remember. We were really, really happy. Although their campaign had been a bit controversial when it came to going to Asian Football Confederation competition.
But they're the first Pakistani football club to progress into the AFC Club playoffs, right?
No. The thing is, that's when they restructured, the AFC restructured the competition system. Before that, Pakistan Premier Football League winners, they would go to AFC President's Cup, right? So that would be the lowest of football clubs, of the countries that have lowest level of football in the sense. So basically Pakistan used to send their teams over there, and it was Khan Research Labs, KRL basically. They have played the most wonderful campaign that they had. So basically that is one thing that people should go and look to. With K-Electric, because there was a revamping within AFC system, so that's why they went through that when it was like the first edition for AFC, to be having that qualifying rounds for that specific competition. So it's the first one, but the campaign was marred because I think the management kind of, and the PFF sort of, they mishandled the players and their information. So that was sad. And that's one of the reasons I really, for me particularly, I have a certain amount of affection for this department because it's from Karachi. And I've seen them work really well with Liari under 14 kids as well at one point. So it's great. But the thing is that one, like, there are still issues with the management too. And it comes with how football is still, growing as a sport, and people don't take it as seriously as they should. But the thing is, and it's such a complex thing, is because for these players, the management, they don't care, obviously. The managers also, they would come and go. Let's just say people who are in positions of power, or people who are coming from backgrounds like you and me, we still have choice, right? What about these footballers who have given their lives? Like, there's one official in the team who's given 38 years of his life, and now he's been told that he has to go out and work in the field. If he doesn't, then, well, he can take 3 months salary, and it's tata goodbye for them, basically.
So I just want to talk about the disbandment. Top athletes and footballers like Murtaza Hussain, Mohammad Rasool, इनको obviously they're being hung out to dry. So could you please explain the story कि ये कहाँ से बात शुरू हुई, ये क्यों हो रहा है, and all the stuff that's involved for people who don't know.
Right. Achha, there's one more thing. Kelectric had done really well at the National Challenge Cup as well in the last few years before the whole Pakistan Football Federation and Faisal Saleh thing happened. I'm sure people would. I think you can tell them in other podcasts or something, but it'll be taking a lot of time if I start talking about that. But there was a controversy with Faisal Saleh and how the whole politics happened and football didn't happen.
I think we discussed all that with the FPDC. I think people are listeners.
That's great. Yeah, sure. So that's they're a great resource for that. I'm sure if you had talked to Ismail, then he would have been very helpful with that as well.
I talked to him as well about it. वो फैसल सालेहात की काफी इस पॉडकास्ट ने जो है ना उस पे टाइम लगाया है, unfortunately.
Okay, so
लगाना पड़ा है.
The thing is that in order to draw or give you at least a complete-ish picture, one has to go into that. And even with this electric,
by all means.
No, I'm just I'll try to keep it as on point as possible. But usko thoda sa batana isliye zaruri hai because Kelectric is not the first department that is disbanded. There was also Habib Bank Limited. PIA also faced that problem. Pakistan Steel, they used to play in Division B. And the thing is, Pakistan Steel, again, that organization that was supposed to be a government-run thing isn't running properly, and they would not pay their players, and it was just in shambles. Like the departmental system itself is not serving the players as well because they're sticking for the jobs, and if the jobs are not paying them, they still stick to it in the hopes that the things would get better. With Kelectric, it was still better is because they were still hiring the players on contract, and they were getting good enough salaries. It was बहुत बुरा नहीं था, लेकिन सही था. Like ठीक है. Now, obviously, I don't want to mention any players as to how I'm getting the information, because obviously they'll get in trouble because they're still, but the thing is that they found out about this decision that the management had taken. This was last week, a week before. It's like, wait, my story was there. Yeah, last week. And then the thing is, they just told them that since football is not happening, obviously now going back to that Faisal Saleh, I think he held the sport hostage. So obviously the corporations, they wouldn't want to keep the players forever, right? It would be like it's a business decision for them. And businesses don't have hearts. At least most of the big businesses don't. I mean, if they did, then they wouldn't disband teams, or at least the players who had served them so well for so long. But the thing is, for them, it was a corporate decision. And they were like, okay, if the football is not happening, then why should we keep the team? Now,
sorry to cut you off, but football अब वापस आ गई. Like PPL is happening in January. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me if I'm getting this right कि उन्होंने 3-4 साल वेट किया जब फुटबॉल नहीं हो रही थी. फिर जब फुटबॉल जैसे ही शुरू होने लगी है तो उन्होंने कहा अच्छा अब हम टीम खत्म कर रहे हैं.
Yeah, but the thing is that there's a lot of things that snowball, right? Obviously, so there's one more thing. I was not the one who broke the news, and in fact, it had been around. It's just that it piqued my interest is when I got few calls from people, and I saw a statement because Kelectric had sent a press release explaining the situation. So that's when I was like, okay, wow, I need to get in touch with these people because obviously I was a bit on a low for a bit. I was just taking a break from things, but then obviously this is something that you have to do because I was infuriated when I read that Kelectric statement. Basically, I was just like, are they like really serious? It's Kelectric, like they give us electricity. In fact, they don't give us electricity, and the entire Karachi hates them. Like everybody hates them. Entire Karachi hate it because of their issues with electricity and how they're so bad at it, managing the load and whatnot. And this was this one good thing about them that used to give them some support, right? their football team, and some said even the cricket team. But since I do not deal with cricket, I can't say much on that. But the footballers, they told me that they found out about this, and the management just told them that you can go and work in the field. Now I'm just so mad is because K-Electric is an electricity company, right?
Yeah.
Are you going to send these players who've never worked with wires and stuff? How are they going to train? It's in fact pretty dangerous.
And they're footballers. It's so weird. They're footballers.
Yes, and it's dangerous too. Like, how long is somebody going to take to learn about the work in the field? Like, the players who used to play and who people would come and watch, with such great pride. Now they'd be going to people's houses and doing what?
Yeah, I totally learning
humiliating
work.
in so many ways. I'm not saying like there's no job that's a bad job. If tomorrow, God forbid, if I'd have to work as a sweeper, I would. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying that it's so humiliating as because it's none of their fault, and the management.
As humiliating as athletes, as footballers, not in terms of like the job that they're doing, but like I don't think this sort of treatment happens with, or is supposed to happen with athletes or with footballers, sports people in your country. So it's just weird. But like you said, कि financial decision, that's a purely corporate decision. But you also mentioned in the article that the cost of the players is 1.5 million only, like 15 lakh.
Yes, per month.
So why it doesn't make sense though?
It really doesn't. And if you talk to the squad members, this is still, again, these are the players who are from Karachi, so obviously they're worried. They'll go and they'll work in the field, okay? What about the players who are outstation? Like you mentioned, Riaz is there, and then you have Rasool. Players who are like Isa. And obviously I haven't spoken to them in this way, and I can't quote them at all. But I'm saying, what are they going to do? What are outstation players going to do? Like if PIA shuts the department down, at least PIA is all over the country, right? So at this point, it's not even about sports. For me, it's like it's a human rights issue. Honest to God, like this is something that I mean, this year has been such a roller coaster for everyone, and it's just surprising. It's not getting any, it's not slowing down in any way. But what I'm saying is,
no one's taking it into account either. Like its decision, I don't think they've taken 2020 into account.
Yeah, and then it's like COVID-19 is there, and the football was not happening for these many years, and that's why we are not going to have footballers playing football. But we will see if we can restart the team later on. That's what the management had told players, for a bit. But the thing is, even for a month or two, even hypothetically, if I look at it, if they want to bring the team back, but you're making them feel so small for what?
Yeah.
And they're your pride. You should be proud.
Yeah, they're the only good PR for your company. Like
that's what
आपकी company के बारे में.
Like when I go and even as a corporate thing, although I'm probably the last person you should talk to when it comes to business, but even I understand that it was a good thing for your business. That was the only good thing, a soft spot that you were making for a general person, an average Karachiite. When your football team did well, it made us proud. That obviously goes for other departments, Karachi-based departments too. But the thing is, with K-Electric, it's so stupid, honestly. I mean, I don't even want to sound politically correct at this point, and that's something, again, I said it's been a fun year, so to speak, is because you realize, okay, Pakistan, with the time that we get, a bit of at least for me personally, I can't say for all the other journalists, sports journalists, but for me, I think it was such a reckoning, in the sense that you sit down, you say, yeah, Pakistan, you want to talk about football, you want to talk about sports, but you don't even have basic human rights.
Yeah.
Like if I just sit down and you, like, I'm sure you must be like, you follow English Premier League and Spanish. league and Italian league, and I don't know, I even followed Brazilian league for a while, and I follow Iranian league because it's something that we don't have in our country. Like,
yeah, definitely we need some sort of escape यहाँ पे, rather than journalists like yourself doing what journalists in the UK are doing with regards to the Premier League, talking about the matches, talking about transfer news or speculation. We're here talking about how 30 people have their livelihood on the line, who might have to work with wires and everything. So it's obviously a sad state of affairs. मुझे एक source ने बताया that case चल रहा है अभी about disbandment, and it could go like, it could not, like the disbandment could stop. Is there any truth in that? Is there
I
any
hope
hope?
it would. Yesterday they had a they had a protest in Karachi. I mean, I wanted to plug this article that Shazia Hassan wrote earlier this year on
Sure, by all means.
Liari Chakiwara Football House. But basically the protesters, the rally that they told me that the schedule was that they would start from there and they will go to press club and they'll be protesting against this decision. When I spoke to the squad members from Kelectric, they were saying obviously they don't want to talk about it openly, is because again their matter is in the management's hands right now, and they're really worried. See, the thing is, the thing that is offered to them as of now is that either they stay and go and work in the field, or they take 3 months salary and go away, right?
Yeah.
So the players, they were supposed to on October 5th, it was supposed to be the day. Now the players, they are worried because right now for them it's very precarious. I mean, can you tell me?
For sure.
I'm sure the management, they should. I'm glad. I mean, if that is what it is, and if they're taking their time, it's a good thing. It means they listen to people, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
And I hope whatever your source is, I hope they're right. I want them to be right. But as of now, what I spoke to the players and the squad members till last night, they were still saying, it's still there. The matter is still in the management's hands. Because see, at the end of the day, you're telling that these players, they either have to go and work in the field or they take 3 months salary and go away. So usme se ab now you have to also see how many players are of the age that who would find something else and how many people would not. And again, the question.
Yeah, so when I was talking to the source, so he was telling me that younger players won't really have an issue, like even though it's obviously really bad, but they will find other departments to play for. Masla unke saath aata hai older players who are at the end of their careers, who probably had something lined up or had plans. Unko ab, like they have to make this tough choice because their career is probably on the line now, their livelihood is on the line.
Exactly. So let's just say if somebody who still has made enough name for themselves, again, for example, you have somebody like Isa, who maybe on the older side but still has things going for himself. Right? Probably he would not be as badly affected as somebody who's lesser known, who's more known in Karachi circles, who's played there constantly and consistently, but doesn't have much of a name or that much of a money. What about him? Right? And then what kind of message are you sending to the, like, for example, the player that I was talking to, he was like in Liari, and by the way, it's a myth that Liari still has a football thing going. Liari mein se football khatam ho rahi hai. I can tell you this.
Football khatam ho rahi hai, it's going away.
Because what did they get from football after all of these years when the department kicked them out? Why should they play? And the PFF, fine, the normalization committee is going to work now. Of course, you say better late than never. The thing is, I'm just talking about not just like last 5 years. What happened before that?
Yeah.
Like it's been a train wreck coming. It's not like it people couldn't see it. But the fact is that in Liari, obviously, kids would take up sports, even boxing and cycling, to get away from drugs and stuff, the crime and everything.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Right? So there's definitely a human and community element to all of this, like the importance of football for social and economic reasons.
Yes.
So staying away from poverty, staying away from crime. And places like Liari are so like important, like football has been so important for them, sports has been so important for them. So I just want to ask you, how important has KE been for you personally first, and then generally for the people of Karachi and communities like Liari in terms of एक तो एसोसिएशन फैक्टर होता है, दूसरा होता है कि एक सोशल और प्रोफेशनल भी अगर आप देखें और इकोनॉमिक अगर वो देखें एवेन्यूज फॉर पीपल फ्रॉम वर्किंग क्लास और पीपल फ्रॉम लेसर बैकग्राउंड.
No, see, first, again, I just wanted to conclude the fact that when departments are shutting down now, what the message is going for the kids now is that there is no alternative for them, right? So it's giving like this, it does make you feel a bit, disturbed, and it unnerves you when you find out, okay, so this person who I knew for a kid growing up in Liari or, the youth, they say, okay, so this person have always played football. I've always played football. I thought Karachi Port Trust, KPT is another department that, hired a lot of footballers from Karachi. And, let's just say KPT is there. Pakistan Steel Tha, again, they are having issues, PIA. And all of these departments, when they see the players who had done so much for their football teams, for the departmental teams, now the young ones, when they see their elders, suffering so much, what do you think happened to them?
Yeah, I mean, वो कहेंगे क्या फायदा है इतनी जान मारने का?
And then the
like,
problem
38 years this guy.
And the problem is, I would,
agar
up even from a very cold-hearted point of view, I'd say, okay, I'm just going to talk about, let's take away the empathy from this and say, acha say ek generation ko kharab hone do, because the other one would be great. But what alternative is there for them? There is none. Like, you tell me.
You can't see anything, no light at the end of the tunnel.
No, for now, because see, obviously you can say, no, you should. I am also hopeful. Life doesn't stop. There was I covered this footballer who used to play for Pakistan Steels. He would go and, he's a raksha wala now. So, fine, you push them to that.
Yeah.
And the thing is,
and then बच्चे वही ना देखेंगे, they'll be like एक player जो इतना उसने time दिया है, and if he ended up like that, कोई कदर नहीं कर रहा, they're nowhere to go, then why should I go down that route?
Yes, and then they would not take football or any of the sports as seriously as they should. And the thing is, and still with Pakistanis and with these kids, I always say you get the best of the talent from these people, from people who have nothing to lose and are all in for this, because unki drive mein, the drive that they have is so different from others who may have other options.
Definitely, because for them it's a matter of survival, I guess.
Yes, and the thing is, if you disappoint that community, or if you disappoint a young kid coming from there, it's a sin. I personally believe. I don't know. Maybe I look at things from a more moral.
No, it's the right word to use.
It's a sin, and they say crime. Fine, crime bhi kar lo. Who's going to punish them for this? Who's gonna punish Faisal Saleh Hayat for wasting so many years of these players and these kids?
It's so much talent. Wasting everything basically. जो भी सामने है.
And the thing is, I don't want to talk about a sad story that I would talk about generally, because I just don't want to revisit it. But the thing is, we used to have a lot of kids, coming from from Liari and Karachi ke jo dusre areas, and from even Malir, even from places like Mangopir, we would have these players coming in in the under 15, under 14 teams, right? Now these kids, they are talented, right? But the thing is, what did you do with them? There are no academies. Fine, Karachi United is working, they have programs and they have been in the community for a while now, but that's just one academy.
Yeah, and Karachi is like huge. Like Karachi
is huge. And then you extrapolate that all over Pakistan, right? You extrapolate that to Balochistan. If you had clubs like proper academies, you would be changing lives. of these kids.
Yeah, in Chaman and in these areas जहाँ पे फुटबॉल का इतनी ज़्यादा वो passionate support है, but कोई infrastructure नहीं है, कोई वो नहीं है. Just lastly though, yeah, sorry, go on.
No, go ahead.
So I was saying कि you mentioned कि पहले भी obviously departments बंद हुए हैं, like PIA, Habib Bank, and obviously we can be safe in saying कि K-Electric won't be the last department to disband or to go out or shut down its football team. Recently हमने देखा है कि AFC की licensing criteria और normalization committee की तरफ से जो developments आई हैं, जो meetings हुई हैं, I just want to ask you, do you think our departments on the way down? Do you think this is the decline of the departments in Pakistani football?
My thing is, it's again, as I said, it's if you take out the empathy and if you take out that factor where you're gonna be like people would be suffering, if you take that, just look away from it a bit. The thing is, the transition has to be, and now I think that's the key, that the transition from departmental system to the club system should, at least the PFF and the managements of these departments, they should work together at least, in a way the transitioning phase is smooth and the least amount of people suffer.
And humane.
And
that's
humane.
The word, I think. Yeah.
The thing is that a lot of times fine, you may have people who can rise above, who can say, okay, I will not stay a player for the rest of my life. I should know how to coach a team, right? So there are people like that. So if there are players who are on the older side, and if they don't have much, of other things going, at least on the आपके पास departments कोई बहुत ज़्यादा नहीं है. You have departments in the league and you have departments in your Premier League. I think the transition, and one day, that's the whole thing, right? That's the dream, that the departmental system should not be there. There should be a professional setup, right?
Yeah.
It's just that the Faisal Saleh management, their genius idea was that they would put PAF FC लगाते थे उनके departments के.
Yeah. But football club
used to be like the biggest joke around that time. We used to like laugh so badly at it. But again, the point is that yehi departments, for example, KRL can say okay, we will sponsor this academy and this club, and it can be named and rebranded, and KRL
exactly.
can still be sponsors. You know what I'm saying? So
so sorry,
that way you would be honoring and you would be actually respecting the players who have come out of these departments. Of course, like you can't take that away from them, no? You can't take that away from the departments too. If they have produced footballers in whatever system that was existing before, they served. Okay? So for them, just to honor the people who have gone through that system, I feel that these departments, they can become sponsors, and it can be such a great business and corporate avenue for them as well, that they can have these clubs and they can be the main sponsors for them. That way you would not be completely annihilating the roots, but at the same time it's a way forward. So if the normalization committees, again, I hope they get an ample time to do everything, and for them, in fact, people are not making things easy for them either, right? So there's a lot of
I've heard.
So like for me, since I'm not it just weirds people out. Even my sub editors, they would be like, "Ye kya hai ye?" If I write it down, say, let's only talk about this on fish diagram. Okay, so we have a fish diagram, and then we keep including things on it.
Because so mera basically I was talking to Shahrukh Sohail, or he said the same thing. He was like, I asked him the same questions. I was like, K-Electric disbanding its football team departments might be on the way down. He was like, I think they're going to do something like what you just suggested, Wabda, so turn it into Lahore Wabda या Wabda Lahore. Turned into a proper club with a proper youth academy, and then department नहीं होगा obviously, but वापडा ही उसको finance और sponsor करेगा, but like it'll just follow a club structure. So something like जो जापान में होता है, if you're aware,
Yes,
कि
yes.
वो कंपनीज पीछे से उनको बैंक रोल कर रही हैं, उनको स्पॉन्सर कर रही हैं, बट
The
आगे उनकी अपनी
handlers.
अकेडमीज हैं
Yeah.
एंड देयर रनिंग एज अ क्लब. सो आई थिंक दैट्स द यूटोपिया
Yeah,
that we should have.
Japanese, so that's something that let's just not even go there. Japan is a
Just
different
Japanese ही कर
civilization.
सकते हैं हम.
ठीक है?
Yeah, that's
I
true.
think puri dunya is on one side and Japan is on one side. So the kind of discipline
I
that
think रशिया ने भी यही किया था, लोकोमोटिव वॉस्को and all of that. I think वो पहले
रशिया का तो
state
socialist
departments होते.
scene था ना.
Yeah,
देखो,
and then they changed.
the thing is, being a socialist myself, because I just genuinely can't stand capitalism and all the whatever. I'm not gonna go in that, but देखो, by nature, by my heart is like obviously that there should be equal opportunities, but the thing is there is no equal playing field, right? And when it comes to these departmental system, Pakistan ke usme particularly, it all got much more suffocating and so much more confusing is because when Bangladesh, they got their independence. So a lot of Pakistani players, they used to go and they used to play in Bangladesh, right? So a lot of players from Liari as well, they used to go and play over there. They would get paid well, right? So you have that beautiful culture over there. This is like pre-independence we. Mohan Bagan and Mohammedan Sporting Club, and football is not just a sport, as I said. It's sports is probably, it's got to do with identities as well, right? But when you come to this departmental system, what it ultimately did was take away the identity, right? Like
association खत्म हो गई.
So I mean, आपका जो basic structure होता है कि जिस तरह अब हम English Premier League देखते हैं, सही है? And that's like my first exposure of watching football of a good standard. In fact, watching football at all was the English Premier League and World Cup, right? Like that was my first exposure. Even La Liga se pehle, I knew about EPL, right? That's because like my dad used to follow Liverpool. So I was like, acha, itna traditional.
I'm a Liverpool fan as well.
Acha, acha. So you're the senti kind. Senti people. Like
बहुत दुख देखे.
No, it's just generally it's a thing with Liverpool, and I probably started following Chelsea's because it was the complete opposite of Liverpool. I was like, okay, it's like this is what we're gonna do, this is gonna be fun. But the thing is, why are we following those clubs and not having any football team from my own region?
वही ना, support your local team. वो people from Liverpool love Liverpool because they were born and bred in Liverpool. For them it's a matter of association. For us, हम देखते हैं, हम कहते हैं what's our closest association. If you're from Karachi, आप कहते हो रात को kelectric को गालियां देता हूँ, चलो सुबह फुटबॉल तो सही खेल लेते हैं, सुबह उनको जरा जाके support कर लेंगे.
Like for example, अब जो players होते हैं, for example, a lot of players who are not from England, who are not from those countries or those areas or those cities, for them they found like जैसे हम लोग पाकिस्तानियों का तो we are the hybrids ना, कि अच्छा, for example, for me, what did Chelsea represent as a teenager when I started following them? Okay, it represented something new, which was against the tradition, and it had lots of Italian players, and it was sort of rebellious thing, that so if my dad is following that, I can follow this. This is gonna be fun. It was a tie between Swansea and Chelsea. So I was like, let's just pick Chelsea just to, But then it becomes your identity. You start identifying with that crowd that follows that club, right? So for Pakistanis, it's, I'm not saying it's any less valid, right? For me, what I feel for this club that I've been following since school is something very different. Obviously, I'm not going to be as, एक तो मुझे passion के लफ्ज़ से इतनी तकलीफ हो गई है ना आजकल. So everything is like passion. Sometimes passion fluctuates, yeah.
What do you mean passion fluctuates?
It's just like sometimes you love the club that you love. I've been following Chelsea for the longest time, but there are times when I hate the management, and I'm like, why the hell do I even follow them? Fine, the football is great, but like, why do I follow them? And then again, it takes that one moment, one, match, to bring you back to where you were, square one. But what I'm saying is that there has to be some identity. So for Pakistanis, football is also about identity. It's not that it's not. And if you go around and if you talk to people from Liari, they tell you there had been racism against them too. Like in fact, हम लोग बात कर रहे थे अभी जब Black Lives Matter start hua, and I was talking to a few of my friends, and you have Makranis and just called regular language में बोलते हैं, and there are these people, there are community, and you have had great footballers from that community. They also are settled in Liari, they are settled in Mangopir, and they are African Americans. Their heritage should be African American. They're more basically when they came to this part of the world on the ships, right? And we're like talking about identity. So Pakistani football has that identity. It's just that I feel that people who claim to run football, they don't understand it. I don't think they understand the people. And it's such a irony. It's just like, how can you take the most popular sport that should be about people and not make it about people?
Yeah, that beautifully said, to be honest.
I mean, it's mind-boggling for me. There's Ghafoor Majna, and I don't know if you are familiar with these names, but do Google them. And Shady, it's a Shady community, but we also had footballers from that. They have a heritage.
Yeah.
They have a lifestyle. They take great pride in it, And it is, football represents that too. Like for me, if I go and I watch a local match, just say you would watch a World Cup and you say, oh, Zidane was the first standout player for me when I was a kid and I was watching it, like that 1998. It was everything. He used to be a poet in the middle field. Like it just caught my eye. I was a kid. I didn't understand much, but what I understood was beautiful. Like, this is beautiful.
This guy is good.
Yeah,
this
so
guy is good. I can understand that much.
Happen when you go and you watch matches in the local, when you go and watch local matches. Even with departmental matches being here, like for example in Karachi, I did the story on abhi jab everything was flooded. Baloch Mujahid FC. Okay? It's a club. It's very community based. You have fishermen, right? Now you look at this. This is so beautiful. Now these are the people of the sea, and what binds them together is this football, this sport, and they have this ground. It grounds them literally. When they come back, they either go fish or they come and play football.
Yeah.
Now, you tell me when I hear things, even like, say, journalism is one thing. Even as somebody who loves the sport, because for me, football has always been, I just don't cover football only. I cover other sports too. It's just that I don't cover cricket. That's something that's, I can't serve cricket. I can't serve anybody if I do cricket. I would just be a very angry person all the time if I do that. But football was something that is close to me, is because it helped me bond with people, right? With my dad or with others, in school, and it helped me, right? So football is such a good part. But when I go out and I see, अब कहते ना यार पाकिस्तान में तो पाकिस्तानी फैंस जो हैं वो सिर्फ फिरंगी फुटबॉल देखते हैं. It's like यार हम लोग आधे वैसे we are wanna be फिरंगीज ना, like देख लो, like we don't know ourselves. But when you go in these communities, you realize we don't understand our own people.
Yeah, definitely. Like वो तो it's mind boggling. अभी recently FPDC ने video लगाई थी of this tournament happening in Balochistan. And it was full jam packed. It was like a FA Cup match at a League One team. उस तरह का stadium pack हुआ होता full. Like close to the pitch, everyone's there, totally invested, and you wouldn't think it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but what I'm saying is that that's something which is fine. This is normal,
Yeah.
And people
हमें नहीं पता लगता. ये जो ऊपर बैठे हैं इनको पता नहीं है. They don't know the people.
Yeah, and even like अब हम like you and I, we can say, oh, we know this, I went there, I saw this, and this is awesome. I went there twice, and now I know everything about it. Now, as a journalist, I find this to be such a disservice, and it's such a pet peeve now, in fact. For example, if somebody would tell me, I can only tell the stories of what people are trusting me, their stories, so I can like bring them, right?
Yeah.
But I am a freaking no one to say कि नहीं, I know their story, because probably I just know a little part of it.
Definitely.
Like for
You don't
example,
know the lived experience, you don't know वो जो ingrained हुआ है उनके अंदर, you just know कि जो उन्होंने अपने मुंह से बोला है in the last 20 minutes.
हाँ, like for example, अब जो players हैं kelectric के, obviously you can speak, you can sit over there. I get very invested and affected by pretty much everything in life, so maybe it's just I can be that annoying person who'd be crying about it for years now. But what I'm trying to say is कि yeah, you don't know ना, if 3 महीने की salary कितनी जल्दी खत्म होती है if you have a family, you have kids, and you don't have a backup plan.
Yeah. And you didn't think you needed a backup plan.
And you thought that it's something you were making money out of doing something that you really, really loved and took pride in.
Yeah.
There is a theory, right? If you're making money or if you're doing something that you really enjoy, that is a success itself. Because then nobody can see कि यार तुम इतना पैसा कमा रहे हो, या आपका क्या marker है? What should be the marker for success? If you're doing something which makes you really happy and brings you joy, you are successful. Yeah. Right? So definitely. for them again, आपकी reality बहुत अलग है जो reality उनकी है. For people to say, okay, there should be this and there should be that. Football is about identity for these players and for kelectric, and even if you take away the departmental system, in fact, a departmental system Bangladesh के independence से अभी तक एक तरीके से आप कह सकते हैं कि it's its own brand of football, right? Let's just say.
Yeah.
Okay, like as much as we hate it, we can just say अच्छा अब इसमें पूरे पाकिस्तान से जो ऐसे for example kelectric ने Nigerian players को hire किया था 6 months के contract पे, and Wilson was there, and Sunday was there. We went, we saw them play, and it was awesome. In fact, Islamabad में काफी सारे Nigerians हैं. And we have this amazing Amika used to be one of the Nigerian coaches. He was running an academy in Islamabad. So what I'm saying is, again, it is even departmental football को भी अगर आप गौर से देखें तो it is about identity. It's not like it's not. But the way it is covered sometimes is so like bleh. Like before Tribune, I started working for Tribune. That was like my first journalistic job ever. In fact, my first real job ever, in the sense. And then, जब मैंने देखा अच्छा, so what do you want to do? You can be a sub-editor, or you can be a reporter. I was like, I get really like easily, I zone out with bad ADHD if I'm sitting only on the desk. I need to be out. I need to be doing something. Yeah. So I decided to be, okay, fine, we're going to be a reporter. And honestly, when I'd look around, they'd say, अच्छा papers में किस तरह cover हो रहा है football. It's like, yeah, football is so big ना, so why don't we know anything about our own football? And for me, it started out as a curiosity. अच्छा, what is this? What is this? What is this? Yeah. You really get to know people. Like something as simple as this with PFF. और अभी भी मुझे जब ये दिखता है तो मुझे बहुत बुरा लगता है. यार नाम तक complete नहीं देते यार scoreboard पे.
Yeah, exactly. You don't know anything. कोई database कुछ भी नहीं है. Like you can't even search anything. कोई देख सब like पता भी लगाना चाहिए. You don't know who's who, what's what.
कितना गुस्से की बात है ना. कोई मैं अच्छा I'm playing somewhere. मेरा नाम है like women football का तो उससे बुरा हाल है ना कि बीबी उसके आगे बीबी लगा दो नाम के आगे.
Really?
हाँ. Like if let's just say if I was playing football and they did not know my full name, the press release I would get is Natasha Bibi.
Unbelievable.
But what I'm saying is कि with men, for example, अब जिस तरह जो बच्चे कॉलेज फुटबॉल खेलते हैं, हमारे यहाँ कॉलेज फुटबॉल अमेरिका की तरह नहीं होती, बट अगर जो कोई अपना HEC हायर एजुकेशन कमीशन यूनिवर्सिटी खेल रहा है, अगर उसका नाम डॉन में ये जिस तरह ओल्ड स्कूल जो आता था कि वो डॉन में ना पूरे नाम लगाते थे, जो भी प्रेस रिलीज में नाम पूरे आते थे वो पूरे लगा देते थे, और फिर वो ना उसका यूनिवर्सिटी या स्कूल, अब जिस तरह फॉर एग्जांपल आई लव टू कवर स्कूल और कॉलेज इवेंट्स, it's like it's the funnest thing ever, is because the pressure is not that much, but at the same time you see these kids, you know, just really playing and putting their heart. So it's a lot of it's a different kind of feel altogether. So पर अगर वो बच्चा खेल रहा है और next day अगर वो अखबार में if he reads my story and he sees his name, his school also sees the name of their school, it's such a thing, you know.
Yeah,
it's such a beautiful thing for them. But then when it comes to departments, even abhi bhi division B league chal rahi hai, and it's going to take some time, I guess I have to tell them as well. But here naam to pure do na, like aapki sanctity, ek bande ki sanctity hoti hai uska naam, you don't even have full score board pe acha ji, for example, for the longest time Kalimullah until unless the sports person says कि ठीक है मुझे बस अपना यही पहला नाम रखना है, you have no right to not to give their full names. Kalimullah Khan, like how much is it Kalimullah? Obviously we call him Kalimullah, but Isa, okay, Isa Khan, what's his full name? Mohammad Isa Khan, chalo, that's easy. But what about others, you know? Jo aise level pe, these are the people who you found out because you kind of have social media. So people talked about it and you found out about them. You never saw them go. You never went and saw them play, did you? No. So, I mean, PFF के साथ मसला ये है, PFF के साथ, or there are other federations too, but you really have to like tell them कि यार at least नाम पूरा लिख के दो फुटबॉलर का, कि पता तो चले कौन है. And people go and they would watch their favorite players. In fact, in the 70s and in the 80s, not 80s, but 70s, 60s, you know, Filipino players खेलते थे कराची के local circuit में. KU,
oh, wow.
Karachi University में there used to be players, there used to be kids coming from Thailand, there used to be kids coming from Africa, and they would be like Sudan से आते थे players, Nigeria से बच्चे अगर आके पढ़ रहे थे आपके यूनिवर्सिटी में, they used to come and they used to play over here. It used to be really good. So, I mean, it's just that nobody ever took time to get to know the people. I mean, something as basic as this, ना कि आपको नाम तक नहीं पूरे पता.
Yeah, I think I think this is a great note to end it on, basically, that football is about identities. Pakistani football is about identities, it's about people. And I think the hope is, जिसकी तरफ हम जाना चाहते हैं, is कि one day, hopefully in the near future, जो लोग ये फुटबॉल खेल रहे हैं, जो लोग इस फुटबॉल को आबाद कर रहे हैं इस मुल्क में, उनकी बात सुनी जाए, and they are properly represented and thought about. Thank you so much, Natasha, for taking out the time and doing this. I had an absolute blast. Thank you for telling us the details about this story. Hopefully ke electric nahi disband hoti. Hopefully common sense and humanity prevails. And everyone watching, thank you so much for listening. Until next time, take it easy.
Bye.